Hey guys, it's Sabina. Just wanted to jump on here real quick. It's never really real quick, but it could be. Could be. So I wanted to read you guys a poem. This last 2 weeks, I've been thinking about jealousy. Ouch word, right? And you ever notice how even if someone doesn't say it, if somebody's being jealous of you, right? Maybe they're like, oh, well, I wish I was that skinny, or I wish I was that talented, or I wish I could do this, or, and even if, sometimes you could say that, like, oh, but you feel some type of way, or sometimes people just stop talking to you, right? You don't even know why. Maybe you got a promotion at work, right? All of a sudden now, the people that liked you, all of a sudden they don't like you. I've had friends, and I'm going to get into that after I read my poem, that I knew, they only, loved me when I was in my worst times. It was they were there, they would, give me money, they would, support me, but as soon as I started doing good, it was they just thought, did I think I was better? No. It's some people, love you in your misery because it makes them feel good about themselves because they feel well, they must be doing better, It's all rooted in insecurity. That's what it comes down to. That's why you got to always look at your heart and just see, it's one thing to be sometimes maybe something good happens for somebody, but you should be happy for people when good things happen. Maybe you've been on a hard season for a while, so you're maybe you're but you should be happy. But when jealousy can go to the next level, and I'm going to get into it because I think it's like a cancer, right? If you're a jealous person, it'll defile every aspect of your life. And you got to ask God to help you. And if you feel or sometimes you'll even try to find things wrong with a person because maybe just because you're jealous of them, so it's better for them to look they suck than for you to just be able to just appreciate them for who they are. So that's where this poem came from. All right. It's called You Didn't See, right? Because you don't see. You didn't see me crawling out of that grave. For years, I was a tormented slave. You didn't watch as I pulled arrows out of my heart. Many of nights, I was broken apart. You didn't hear the whispers and the stares from the people who promised to always be there. And you didn't hear my screams in those places, begging for mercy, but just getting blank faces. You didn't wipe the tears from my cheek. Most of my life, I was rejected and weak. You didn't see. It's easy to compare now that I rise, but you could shine too if you didn't compromise. It's easy to try to cut down a tree with strong limbs, but remember, a tree with great strength grows best when it's fenced in. It's easy to look from an outside perception and think it's always been easy for a girl that's needed multiple resurrections. It's easy to not look into your own soul and deal with those things that hinder you from becoming whole. You'll never know the courage I need each day to keep pressing on as the Lord leads my way. You'll never know the battles I endure in silence, which provoke in me a holy violence. You'll never come up higher if you keep comparing yourself to others. Be who you are called to be and stop hating on your sisters and brothers. Boom. Okay, so where am I going with that? Sometimes people, and I've had this happen to me, I've had friends that maybe they're battling with recovery or they're still going through struggles, right? And they'll be like, well, well, how long have you been sober? Or how long have you been this? And I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter how long anything. It's the battle's the battle, man. You don't see, we see the outside, right? We see when maybe someone's up there preaching in a pulpit, right? You don't know what they're battling with in secret. Maybe somebody's, has this great position, right? You don't know. Looks like they have this great marriage, and maybe you've been alone for so long, right? And you don't know what they're going through, if they're abusing each other behind the scenes. We don't know. So my point of saying all that was that nobody knows what I've had to go through to crawl my way out. Like I had said, my whole life I was literally beat up mentally, emotionally, spiritually, as a little girl, like just embedded with just horrible things, right? That morphed into an adult life. So yeah, I'm going to be celebrating 13 years. Haven't even had a drink in 13 years next week, right? Now, somebody that maybe they're just on their journey or they keep falling, they could be like, oh, well, you know, like, well, then you don't really understand what I'm going through. What do you mean? Like, it's 1 second at a time, and that's for anything, right? Just like if you're trying to make a new hobby, like I like to paint, right? Or when I started teaching myself how to play the piano, or when I started I sucked. I thought it was actually decent, but I look back at those old ones and I'm like, ugh. But the point is, I did it for the love of it, and then I started to get into it, and then I started to cultivate it, right? It's not like, you know, certain people can, and I've had people say that to me, and I'm thinking, like, I spent most of my life not doing any of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even know I had interests. I had lost myself long ago as a little girl, teenager, 14 years old. It was game over. That was like solidifying. I didn't do anything that I liked to do when I was really little, right? So, or maybe, you know, even in the, like, I wrote down, actually, hold on. Let me slow down. So, okay, areas where you could be a jealous person in, right? Let's go there, start there. Relationships, let's start there. Marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend. I'll tell you right now, I could never be with somebody like, and I'm not judging if that's your thing, but if you gotta look through my phone, like, we obviously don't have trust. Like, that weirds me out, that people like get really, and hey, that might be you, but maybe there's a reason. Probably, I hope there's a reason, right? But like, some women or men, you're so insecure, which I couldn't be with somebody that was like, why are you with me if you don't trust me and you're gonna look through my phone when I'm sleeping at night? That's weird to me. That's like weird. Why are we together if you don't trust me, right? And maybe there could be underlying, maybe you have a trauma, maybe somebody else did something to you and it messed you up, right? We all have that. And now, but you gotta get healed then, and that's a big thing. Everybody you see, and I was this person, so I can talk anything I say on here. I have every right to speak on it because I know what it's like. You go from relationship to relationship, and you're carrying the baggage from that last relationship into the new one. So now you're like this whole fragmented person trying to have like a healthy relationship. There is nothing wrong with pausing. And people think in their mind, oh, I did at first. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I've been alone for a month. Like, what? Now it's been years, right? So that's good. Get healed. Because clearly, if the relationship didn't work, it's not always just the other person, right? We got to do soul searching, like I said in my poem, right? But what was that line? And deal with those things that hinder you from becoming whole. So find out what is your deal, right? And then work on it. Like anything. So relationships, big one. Marriages, maybe there was infidelity at some point, right? And you guys worked through it, but now it's always looming in the back of your mind, right? But even like just relationships in general. Another thing with relationships, say you married someone that had an ex-wife, or they had kids, or they have kids, not had, but have. And now you're jealous. This happened with my dad with his wife. She was psycho. Sorry, just truth. She didn't want my dad to see us. It's a different love, dude. It's a different love. It's not even like, not normal, but on a higher level, she must be a real sick woman. She was abused by her, I guess, her ex-husband, whatever. Still doesn't make it right. Just saying. And she had an enormous hate for my mother. And I'll never forget, like, she flipped my mom off. Like, my mom finally went once to try to get child support. And the girl, like, meanwhile, she had a baby daddy that was paying child support for her kid. Go figure me this. And she was, like, giving my mom the middle finger in court. Like, nobody wants your man, dude. Like, but the insecurity, and I'm giving just, I could give a million examples, but being insecure of someone's other children, right? because there's something, maybe there's something in you that you feel like maybe that their child represents the relationship that they had prior. Well, obviously, if that relationship didn't work, you know what I mean? But these are conversations you have to kind of have with yourself, right? And most people, they don't. Most people do not have conversations with themselves. I'm probably, I guess, and just, I could say it was recovery, but no, I've always been like that. Even as a kid, I was always trying to analyze myself, right? Why am I this way? Why am I so crazy? Why am I so messed up? Why this? But, and also trying to analyze why my family was so dysfunctional. What's wrong with my mom? What's wrong with my dad? What's wrong? Why? What's wrong with this one? That, psychology was I loved psychology. But then obviously as I got older too, like now I understand there's also like spiritual warfare. There's we're mind, body, we're a mind, right? We live in a body and we have a spirit. So if one of those things are like out of whack, the whole shebang is off, right? If one of my tires right now, like I'm sitting in my car, what else new, is low, right? I'm driving. Everything else, all 3 tires are boom, good. Well, I'm going to be a little off, right? So it's the same thing with our humanity. You know what I mean? So relationships, that is an area, big one. Jealousy, right? Or, like, so what? Like, I take it as a compliment. Like, if you thought my man was hot, if I had him, I don't know. But I'm just saying, if you think if you're like trying to flirt with him and like seduce him, well, then now you suck. And now you need to figure it out, right? Now you're a terrible human being. But if someone like thinks you're good looking or like compliments, and this goes for guys with their girls, you meet these men that are so possessive, and to the point where this is where it gets sick. They'll start to make that happen to me in a relationship, one of my relationships. They'll make you feel like you're ugly and you're not good and you're whatever. They want to call you a whore or this, and they'll just try to decimate you because they want control. Because they're petrified, because they're an insecure little boy or girl. And they never dealt, so they have to keep you as a prisoner. You got to know this stuff. This stuff is happening every day, all day, right? So, relationships. We can be jealous in relationships. Don't, if you find yourself in any of these categories and you are in a relationship, like you can just talk to yourself. I'm not condemning anybody. I'm just saying that this is like, you know what I mean? We got to know ourselves, right? And I'll get into the spiritual aspect of all of it at the end. Next one, friendships. So many ways we can go with this one. Okay. Maybe I had a friend like this. Never wanted me to be around her other friends. I was like, weird. I was like, why? Like, it was always like, she could go hang out with them. But like, if I was like, never invited me. Now, when she wanted to be with me alone, had all my attention. And I never got it. I was like, what is the deal? Because some people are so jealous and insecure that they think that you're still their friends. Or their friends are going to like you more than they like them. It's all rooted in insecurity. That's really what jealousy comes down to. At least that's what I think. There's something that you feel that you're lacking, right? And now you see someone else, instead of celebrating their personality or celebrating their victories, it's because you don't feel good about yourself, you have to go and do all this weird stuff, right? Friendship, that's a big one. Or if you have a jealous friend, like I was telling you, a friend of mine, well, she's no longer with us, but it was the only way this girl loved when I was in pain. She loved it. And I kind of knew it. But I loved her. She had such she was so awesome. But, boy, it was as soon as it was almost like she'd even put things in front of me that I was trying not to do. You ever have one of those friends? Listen, a real friend, especially say you're not trying not to drink, and they come over with a 6-pack. What the hell? No, that's not being a good friend. A friend respects, okay, I always say, I have friends of all different, backgrounds, creeds, belief systems, this, that, but you know what, certain people know not to say certain things around me, right? Because that's not being a good friend. you know? So being jealous, or maybe you think your friend is prettier than you or smarter than you, and it's like you like the person. Come on now, if we're being real, you like the person. I see this so much. I don't know how guys are. I've known a few guys like that. I could think of two in particular I grew up with that were, I don't know, whatever. But women, girls, ladies, whatever, teenagers, whoever's listening, it's tough. It's tough. Because if you have a friend and they like secretly, they like you, but it's like they're jealous of you. Maybe you live in, I could think of when I was growing up, I had a friend like that had a lot of, a lot of money. Now, I wasn't jealous of her, but I always did think, I was like, wow, like, we didn't have much growing up, so I would always kind of feel bad about myself. But I was never to the point of envy, like I want what she has, or I guess jealousy and envy, they're like sisters, right? Envy, you want what the person has, right? Jealousy is more like, I guess, the emotional issue with like, feeling insecure and inadequate, right? But but like, so, or families, I'd always be jealous, like, and I'm admitting it, like whenever like I'd have a boyfriend or friend and I go and I'd see like how families got together for Christmas, or I wouldn't want them not to have that, but I would always feel really bad about myself, right? So I wanted that. I wished I had that, right? So jealousy can get really bad if you don't deal with it, right? To the point where you'll sabotage that person. That's another thing, right? You could have a friendship, and like I was just saying, you could put people in situations that, well, if you really cared about them, you wouldn't do that to them. So we got relationships, friendships, co-workers. Oh my gosh, I can contest to this. So maybe, someone's been working at a job for 20 years. They've been there and like they're busting their butt, right? And then this new person comes in and like, maybe they have favor with the boss. Maybe, God bless them with favor, not because they're a kiss ass, whatever, but because they just, whatever. Maybe they click in that level. Maybe they have maybe they're, and then jealousy comes in like, or like the person's like just keeps themselves working hard, just mind their own business. Well, why aren't they gossiping? Well, why aren't they? Would they think they're better than me? Like, no, maybe they're just going to work to do their job, right? Jealousy can cause also, you can start making, like I told you guys in a few videos ago, and I promised my last video, I said I'm going to come on here and tell a whole story soon. Not time yet, but I will. That, what jealousy can do. People making up rumors, making up lies because they're jealous of the person, right? Maybe they think they're whatever. I don't know. They're prettier, or they're whatever. We don't know. People just have all sorts of irrational things going on, right? And they plot and have the group of people be like, yeah, well, did you hear? They just start a rumor, right? Oh my gosh, this happened to me so much growing up, it wasn't even funny. For no reason, too, because I was like such a miserable human being. I don't understand why anyone would want to be jealous of me. But I'd always have like that, like somebody that was trying to like plot. And it's just like, it's a lonely thing. Because, like I said in my poem, you'll never know what someone has had to crawl out of. 1 million deaths. I've died 1 million deaths. To be resurrected again, to die another 1 million deaths. So work, to mess your whole atmosphere up, right? You dread going to work because you got that 1 or 2 coworkers that are always trying to sabotage you because they're jealous, and you don't even know why they're jealous. I'm just throwing in pretty, but it could be anything. Maybe you got a nicer car. Maybe their tattoo came out like crap, and I don't know. People got issues, right? Now, church, when I was a little girl, right, this is what really sucks, and this is why a lot of people don't go to church, okay? Besides the fact that a lot of these churches are just becoming big businesses, right? Well, they kind of always were in certain ways. I don't want to knock every church. That's not true. But you go, like when I was little, like I thought, like, I got bullied as a kid, especially when I was really little, and my mom would drag me to church, and like wanted friends so bad, but the same things that were happening to me at school and all that, it was happening to me at church. And I get it, kids are mean, whatever, but that should be a place. And it didn't I wish I could say, oh, only when I was a kid, but then I ended up going back right at 25, and it's still, there's just, people are damaged and broken no matter where you go. That's why we don't judge God based on church, but it should be like a safe place, right? At least train your kids to like show. That's why bullies, right? But most of those kids that were doing that stuff, I would have to say either they had terrible parental guidance, none whatsoever, or they were just really lacking something, right? But it doesn't take the effect away. I'm telling you all this stuff, but it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt when you're on the receiving end of it. Especially if you genuinely love somebody or you care for someone. Do you know how painful that is? I know there's got to be people out there that what I'm talking about right now, where you like really care, you have like a good heart, you really care, and like all of a sudden you start to see things in people and you're like, why are they saying that, or why are they doing that, or what? And it's almost like it hurts because you didn't do anything to that person. But the problem isn't with you, me, you, whoever you are. The problem's with the person that's feeling that type of way. And like my poem, well, why don't you find out what's the last line? You'll never come up higher if you keep comparing yourself to others. Be who you're called to be and stop hating on your sisters and brothers. We're all a mess in some way. We're all broken. Nobody sees what another person sees. Like, it's easy to look at something, like you don't see what someone's crying themselves to sleep or the pain they have. Not everybody's vocal. I tell you guys a lot, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on, right? But that's what it comes down to. We don't know what another person, so we can look at someone and I pray that if this is convicting somebody, good. And not condemning, but convicting. Good. Think about it. Conviction is good for the soul. Because then you think like, am I jealous of this person? Or am I, I've had those issues where I'm like, damn, like, I'm still in this situation. But, look, comparing. That, I think, is the worst. I think that's where jealousy begins. I don't know. I'm not a scholar of sorts. But I think comparison is bad. Very, very bad. Right? Oh, well, she's prettier than me. She's skinnier than me. She's got more money, or she's got more talents or gifts than me, or he's got, more muscle than me, or he gets all the ladies, he's got this, or she's got this awesome job and making bank, and like, I got this little, $11 an hour job. But you want to know something? Be grateful for where you're at. And this happened to me the other night. I'm telling you, my computer just went on. I didn't even put anything on it. It was on YouTube, something. I couldn't even find where it was coming from. That's what's crazy. I had instrumental, and the instrumental was still playing. I had instrumental playing because I like to listen to the piano. And all of a sudden, this guy's voice comes on, and I'm like, and it got my attention. And it was something along the lines of, don't compare yourself. Like, you don't see, you're looking at your immediate circumstances, but you forget how far you've come. And I was like, what? I'm like trying to go through the computer, and I'm like, where is this coming from? There was no, like, it wasn't coming from the YouTube, because the YouTube was on, still playing the little piano, instrumental, no voice. So it was only like maybe 40 seconds, 30 seconds, I don't know. And then it shut off. And I was just like, huh. And that's what it is. Like, sometimes I'm guilty of that. So I can say this, where I'm like, just like I was telling you on my friend, who's always like, well, you've been sober for this many years. And I'm like, oh, okay. Do you see the blood, sweat, and tears of just not even anything in life? Just like, say you want to lose weight. No, not most people aren't just born, well, there's some that are just naturally skinny. Well, you got to start somewhere, right? Going for walks. You got to put the work in. Well, everything in life, you got to put the work in. Everybody likes the quick fix, or they think that, like, they look at somebody and they think they're just born this little, perfect little dove. Like, no, right? Especially as you get older, you got to really put in the work. But everything that you want to be, but be who you're called to be. Don't try to steal or like be jealous of someone else's calling or gifting or anointing or whatever. Be who God created you to be, because we're all created. I don't care. I wish I had that scripture. I should look it up. All right, in the Bible, there was this guy. There's two guys. All right, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not, I'm going with it. All right, so the guy with the talents. One guy had like 7. One guy had 1. But the guy with the 1 talent, he was like, look at that dude. Like, what am I going to do with 1 talent? And he buried it. But the guy with the 7 talents, I'm not 100% for 7, I think. So please, I'm not trying to be like some sort of heretic. I'm just, whatever. You get the point. Google it. He like, boom, he multiplied it. He like turned it to like 14 because he was just like, boom, using everything that God gave him, his gifts, his talents. But the guy with the 1, God like rebuked him and was like, you wicked servant. Like, what are you doing? So maybe maybe you're an encourager. Maybe your gift is to, whatever it is, your talent, everybody. Maybe you're really good at money, business. I'm not good at paperwork. I'm not good with, I don't know, certain things I'm not. I'm more like, want to sit and look at the sunrise and write a poem. We're all different, okay? But there's not one person that has ever been born that does not have gifts and talents. But the idea is to look at you and find out what you love, what you're good at, and then cultivate it. And I had to learn that because I was an insecure, crazy person and most of my life, and I never thought I was good at anything because I was so beat up. I was so beat up by family, by ex-boyfriends, by wicked people that did horrible things to me as a kid, so I had no self-esteem, so I understand why people are the way they are, but that's not an excuse. You understand? It's not an excuse. You gotta soul search. You gotta do the work because you're causing damage and hurting other people that don't deserve that. I don't know. Just saying. All right. Okay, so I had wrote down right here. Okay, so some things that you can be jealous of. Intelligence, right? Maybe like, oh, they're so smart. I could never sit there and read. I really couldn't. I don't. Like, I'm more like want to hear it. Like, right? Maybe you're really good at, taking notes in school. I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, if I wasn't interested, like, it was very hard. Maybe looks, and you could be jealous of intelligence, money, talents, family, you name it, right? It's just, all it's going to do in the end is poison you. That's my point of saying this whole video is just to make you aware, like, it's poisoning you. It's making you poison. And even if, like, you gotta, like, just the same amount of work, like I said, you don't see, like, you ever see, like, the big bodybuilders, right? And they're, damn, I wish it looked like that. Or I wish, bro, they're in the gym 80,000 times a day. Like, they're eating all the protein. They're eating healthy. Their life is a very strict, right? So do you want to do that? You can do that. So remember, there's a price to pay for everything that you want to learn. Whatever amount of time, what are you spending your time on? If you're on freaking TikTok all day, well, you're not going to really be getting anything done to learn, or if you're just watching, whatever, people that do great things, they sacrifice and they put the work in, whatever it is, whatever the great thing is. So you can't be jealous of people when they're doing things great things. They're putting the work in. And the same thing goes for putting the work in for your own healing, right? You could be like, oh, well, this person's so healthy. I hate to break it to you that 2010, I started my journey. Up, down, left, right, inside out, upside down, tumbled, smashed on the ground, up again, down. It's hard work. And then eventually you get your balance, right? And even then, there's always something to be learning, always something to be unlearning, right? Bad habits, always something to be overcoming. And if you're a person that's not doing any of that, then don't think for a second. Just like a garden. You think you're going to throw some seeds down, just like, psh. I mean, there's some things I think you can do that with, but no. You're plucking out weeds, you're watering, you're sunlight, then you gotta water some more, then you gotta trim, then you gotta get bug killers and make sure the bugs are gone, and you're tending to the garden. Well, why don't I challenge you today, whoever listens, to tend to the garden of your heart? Because this is a garden. There's a song by Misty Edwards. I listened to it this morning. Garden. Our heart is a garden. And if we just leave it unattended, it will grow all sorts of crazy weeds. And before you know it, you don't even recognize your own heart. You don't even know what's in your own heart because it's so buried by those poisonous roots. And that you have to go in there with hedges, and cut them all out just to see your heart again. That's what sin does to us. That's what jealousy does to us, bitterness. Well, those are sins, really, right? But even if you're not a believer and you're listening, right? Jealousy we've all been on the receiving end of that, right? Or maybe you're one of those people that are jealous, right? We all can identify. That's something that everybody can identify with, right? And you have to be real, and you have to be able to go to your heart and really look at what is it that you want for yourself. And that's why I'm going to go into even just scripture for those that believe, those that don't. Well, I'm going to give you scripture anyways. So, what does God say about jealousy? Okay? So, in Exodus, it says, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. Don't be trying to, right? Damn, she's got a hot wife. Well, get over it. Find your own hot wife. Or servant, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Galatians 5:19 through 21. Now the works of the flesh are evident. One of the things is, in that whole thing, you could read the whole thing on your own, is jealousy, right? So it's our flesh. That's our flesh. That's not spiritual. If you're a spiritual person and you're listening, you don't feel that way when you're in the spirit, right? Even if it tries to come at you, you're like, no, that's not cool. Proverbs 14:30, a tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but envy makes the bones rot. Do you feel like your bones are rotting? Well, maybe you're envious of some people, right? James 3:16, for where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. Boom. Like I told you guys at one of my jobs, all these people were jealous of this one lady, and then they all would meet and conspire. What does it say right here? God is so he's a genius, right? For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile thing. Disorder. You can't have order in your life, your mind, your will, your emotion. You can't have order in anything if you're running around jealous, or people that go around gossiping, spreading rumors. I'm convinced that's jealousy too. Shut your mouth. Why? Did you see what so-and-so said? I worked with a lady years ago. I liked her when she wasn't doing that I'd have to pray, please God, don't let her. It was like juicy morsel to her. She would, oh my gosh. I couldn't work like with her. I was so glad she was 2 classrooms away. But I liked her, like she was cute and funny when she wasn't doing that. But she did that like all day. Like if she found someone to do that with, that was it. And I'd watch her go from, like say something happened in the school. I'd watch it. I'd just sit there just to see, like in the morning when everybody's meeting. And she'd go from one to the next. And she would tell this same story to everybody. I mean, I wanted so bad to go up to her and be like, dude, what is your issue? It's gross. Until it came back to me. Like when I left, I didn't tell anybody. And like a friend of mine told me, like she didn't tell me specifics. So I didn't even have to say anything to her. I just said, hey, I just want to let you know, it's, over the summer, I decided to quit, da-da-da-da. And she got so like, Sabina, I'm so sorry that, I didn't know, didn't know what happened to you. So she probably thinks that like that person told me like the details, which that person is a wise woman, she didn't. But I was like, I'm like, whatever, like never talk to her again. But I was like, I really liked her when she wasn't being like that, right? Because now you're just starting crap, right? Now you're just trying to, because she was an insecure girl, like very, very, right? And I know she liked me, but like, I don't know. That was like addiction status. Like she needed to get free. Like that was like straight up addiction. Like she couldn't help it. So like you knew, if you wanted everybody to know something, tell her. If you wanted nobody to know anything, best to just tell nobody nothing, honestly. All right, sorry, tangent. All right, James 3:14. Okay, so this is the before. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, do not boast and be false to the truth. This is not the wisdom that comes down from above, but it's earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. Does God get to the point? For where jealousy and selfish ambition exists, that's where their every disorder will be. Song of Solomon 8:6. I'm almost done. Set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm. For love is strong as death. Jealousy is fierce as the grave. It are flashes of fire, the very flame of the Lord. And then what is love? Like we've done a video on that before. Love is patient, kind. Love does not envy or boast. It's not argumentative, arrogant or rude. It does not insist on getting their own way. Right? How many of you guys try to get your own way all the time? It's not irritable or resentful. The irritable part, I'm working on that. Or resentful. Love never fails. Love is not like the love, like I always say, that we see. Oh, I love you, baby. Oh, I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you. But we've been together for a year and things are just not, now I'm not in love with you anymore. Love is patient. It's kind. It does not envy. It's long-suffering. Right? Real love. God's love. And I'm going to leave it there. I just encourage anybody. And I said, I know, like, I guess because I've been seeing it a lot in every facet of just everywhere I go. And I see it now. Obviously, I don't point it out to people when I see it. But I just challenge everybody that, like, get to that root cause. Why you're feeling jealous. Because you're beautiful. And you're unique. And you're special. And I'm not just saying that, like, oh. Like, it's true. There's stuff that you've never even tapped in. I remember when I first had started painting, I was in my 30s. Like, I never paint, or maybe as a little kid, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I was like, I like to draw, like 6, 7, 8. And I was just, life got really hard quick. But, right, find out what you like to do. Maybe it's photography. Maybe you like to collect shells, and maybe artistic stuff is not your thing. Maybe you're like, I was gonna say, I have some amazing people I know that like, they're like, I'm like, whoa, they're really creative in different ways than I am. You know what I mean? I appreciate people's diversity and difference. Like I always say, would you want a garden with all the same flowers in it? Boring. Whole big field, same flowers. No. We're all different. But if you're not even giving yourself a chance, if you're always comparing yourself and you're always looking at everyone else and what they have and what they don't and what your life is and what it isn't, or if like anytime somebody good looking or pretty comes around your boyfriend, girlfriend, like you got to check yourself. Like, be like, if you're feeling weird about it, you got to ask yourself why. Especially if the person, like I said, it's not if the person's ever given you a reason to be like, hey, that girl or that guy is, trying to seduce my, what, you know what I mean? Or if you find that you have to go through someone's phone, or you have to, or whatever, or you find that like maybe someone really gets on your, like, you ever have that person and like you don't know why you don't like them? Sometimes it's because you're jealous of them. Not all the time. But like, if you can't put your finger on why they rub you the wrong way so bad, unless they have like a bad spirit on them. But sometimes it's just because they make you feel inadequate. But they're not really making you feel inadequate. You already feel inadequate. So you want to surround yourself around people that make you feel whatever your safe zone is. But that's not how we're called to live. Nobody. I don't care whether you're a Christian or not. I don't care what you are. Celebrate people. Be happy when people are doing good. Right? Celebrate people. Especially if you say you're their friend. Right? Or their family member. Or, I get super stoked when I see people come in. Don't be a hater. Yuck. There's enough of them. And especially if you're claiming, you know what I'm going to say. If you're walking with him. But I think this goes for anybody. Just be one of those people that if you really are not secure, then be honest with yourself and get to the root cause. Why? Do you feel like they're what? I can't speak for you. But I know what things that I've struggled with. I know where I felt inadequate and still do sometimes. But we never know. Don't be jealous of people because you don't know. Even if someone's doing amazing, you don't know the nights they were in agonizing pain, crying themselves to sleep, wishing for death. We don't know. And I can say that. You don't know people's battles. Not everybody shows all the battles that they go through, right? You don't know. So it's very foolish, I'll use that word, to just assume because you see a certain thing when you don't know what that person has to fight every day. Maybe it's depression, right? Maybe they got to get up every day and they got to like fight to live, and you see them as this happy-go-lucky person and da-da-da-da, and you don't know. So worry about you, worry about your own garden, and just show love. That's all I could encourage anybody, and become the best you can be. That's really, I know it sounds so like simple and cliche, but really, be the best you for you. Do what makes you happy and what makes you feel good about yourself, right? Don't judge because you don't know. You just don't know. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm not even going to say it. I should have stopped when I said I was going to stop, and it would have been 30 minutes. Boom. All right. I'm going to say a prayer like I always do. Right? So, God, I just come before you right now, Lord. And I just thank you that I was able to bring this out because this is a common issue that everybody has struggled with at some point in their life. And, Lord, I just ask you that you would help all of us to overcome any areas of our lives where we feel jealous or envious or we compare, and that we would, anyone that listens to these videos, Father, that they would come to know who they are in you. They would know their value, their worth, their identity, who you called them to be, and cultivate who they're called to be. It doesn't matter what we've happened in the past. It doesn't matter. We can start fresh today, and we can move forward and do it just second by second. That no one would feel like they have to compare themselves to others because they would know that there will never be another them. That's why they have a unique set of fingerprints that no one else will ever have. There will never be another them. So I ask you, Lord, to touch any person that's struggling tonight, and anyone that doesn't know you, Lord, that doesn't believe, that stumbles on this video. I ask you to open their heart to you, open their eyes to see the beautiful free gift of the gospel and what you did for us on that cross. so that we can have eternal life with you. And that not only that, but that we can become who you called us to be, because you're the master artist. And you had each and every person in mind when they came into this world. And you have a purpose and a plan for every person. Thank you, Father. Amen. Bye, guys.